the packaging materials that basically that consumers get at home. So everything that we receive from online sales, all of our grocery shopping trips, takeout containers, retail shopping, toys at Christmas, all that stuff that ends up in our recycling bins here, instead of being paid for by taxpayers and towns, will now be paid for by the producers of those packages. So say Amazon will now have to pay fees on the packaging that they're selling to Maine to cover those costs.
Right. So do you mind walking me through like a little bit of a hypothetical here? It sounds like it's like, for example, if Amazon uses that type of like packaging pouch, right, with the bubble wrap inside or whatever,
right,
they pay a certain fee to the state, say, hey, we are going to be sending out products of this type. The Maine gets them. No, it sounds like I don't have it right.
Similar. So basically what happens is, so next is the details of the program will all get worked out in rulemaking through our DEP. So these are just details that don't belong in a statute, things like how those fees are calculated exactly and how municipalities are going to get reimbursed exactly and what the exact program goals are, all that kind of stuff will get worked out. But what's going to happen after that is the state will contract with a new stewardship organization, and it's actually their role to collect fees annually from companies based on the type and amount that they're selling. The fees will be calculated, say, like per ton. So it's not like a fee per container. You can work those fees out and they're really quite small, but you pay per ton. And all those fees go to the stewardship organization and are used to reimburse municipalities for the costs of recycling. And there's also more money to invest in education and infrastructure in the state.
Okay.
So that's different from how we do it now, where somebody has to pay for this, for recycling and packaging waste. And right now it's towns and taxpayers that kind of do it piecemeal throughout the state. And they're just, sitting there reacting to all the packaging that they're getting. And this is a much more efficient, systematic, fair way to approach this problem. And we can see in other countries and provinces that recycling rates steadily increase with this type of system. There are examples of changes in packaging design as a result of the fees incentivizing better packaging and less packaging. It's really designed to tackle our waste crisis, get us to finally reach our goal of recycling 50% of our waste, which we set back in 1989 and have never reached. We're hovering around 36% and falling, and it's really no wonder why. So what this really is, this is why we're calling it recycling reform, because it's really a change in how we're approaching the problem.
Okay, gotcha. So then let me ask you this. What was your reaction when you found out that this bill had been signed into law? I imagine this is a big win for our environment and our climate, right?
Yeah, no, I'm still a little bit in shock. This has been a long time coming. There's been 2 bills leading up to this bill. And actually last year, the legislature, the Environment Natural Resources Committee passed a very similar law or bill out of the committee, and COVID shut the legislature down. So everything that was left in limbo got left behind. So we had to put the bill back in. And anyway, so this has just been a lot of hard work, a lot of collaboration. There's been some pretty intense lobbying pressure against this bill, as you can imagine. And, there's so many lawmakers who really stood up and showed a lot of political will to get this law passed. I'm really, really happy that the governor has signed this law too. It's a really, really big deal. Yeah.
So am I understanding this correctly, that basically, if you're a big corporation and you send tons and tons and tons of these difficult to recycle materials, into the state, because that's how you package your products, the corporation is going to be responsible for paying a fee to the stewardship organization that the state ends up contracting out, right? To request for proposals.
Yeah, it'll be request for proposals that'll go to.
So then, so say I'm Amazon. I keep picking on Amazon just because we get so much stuff through the mail.
It's fine. Pick on them.
Right. So they say, okay, well, we send X number of tons, right? So, okay, well, this SO will later set a fee, right? Mm-hmm. Do you mind kind of like walking me through this?
Yeah, like
so
how that happens.
Procedurally. I mean, I don't need to know about how they set the fee, but just like, how does it go from, the packaging that comes into the state to it finally being recycled, I guess is my.
Right. Okay. So the producers will pay annually to the stewardship organization. They help them figure out what it is that they owe. And typically programs like this are a little bit self-regulating because the producers that pay want everybody that's supposed to pay to pay. They don't want free riders in the system. So it's somewhat self-enforcing in that way. And then the municipalities annually will submit reports to the stewardship organization that are a third-party audit, basically, make sure they're all legitimate expenses on money already spent on managing this packaging waste. And that's how I should have started maybe with the municipalities, because the fees backtrack to make sure that they cover those costs. So let's say in years where municipalities are making money from recycling, let's say they're actually, there's no net cost of recycling because there's good markets, things like that, then there's less or nothing to reimburse. So the fees to the producers will be less as a result of that. That makes sense. So like, it's more like the incentives are in the right place.
I think so. Sorry, I wish
So
I was.
well, the fees will change every year. They change
Okay.
every year. You can see their sample fee structures in that I refer to all the time in Quebec, just to help businesses get an idea of what their costs might be under a similar type of program. And they change each year to cover the actual needs of the system.
Okay. So is it like, that the municipality, the town or the city is already paying to have to recycle these types of materials?
Mhm.
So instead what's happening is now they still have to pay, that whatever that contractor is, Do Maine or whatever, to actually recycle the materials, but the cities and towns get reimbursed because the big corporations are being charged to send their products in these types of packaging to the state. Am I understanding that correctly?
Yes.
And so then it's an incentive on the flip side to say, okay, look, you don't want to get charged these fees? Send us stuff in sustainable packaging.
Exactly. You nailed it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That helps me just kind of clarify how this process works. Okay.
Yes.
So I mean, this is a really big deal for our environment and our climate in this state.
Yes.
I mean, can you explain that to somebody
Yeah.
who maybe they don't have a recycling program in their town? Maybe this will allow them to start one.
Yes, exactly. What this will do is municipalities that participate in the program, they'll have to collect a set list of materials to participate. So we'll finally have some uniformity around the state with what's recyclable and what's not, because the people are confused. And when people are confused, they put something in the bin that isn't recyclable that they think is, and then that brings down the value of all of the recycling. It's a disaster. And now with this law, there's going to be, more clarity, more incentives to have more clear labeling on a package to help consumers put things in the right bin. For some communities, it'll be the difference between even having a recycling program and not. So before, if your town was willing to pay for recycling, then you'll have a recycling program. If your town can't justify it because it costs an average of 67% more to recycle than to just throw things in the trash, now they're gonna have a recycling program because that'll be covered under this system.
Awesome. And so, on the flip side, theoretically we should be getting more sustainable packaging from. I mean, you might have corporations who say, whatever, we'll pay the fees.
Right.
But you also might have corporations that say, okay, well then we'll send it to you in paper instead of plastic or something. Is that?
Yes, exactly. Yes. Yeah. Yes,
Okay.
exactly. And that's what the fees are designed to do. And there's examples of changes happening in other countries where a company actually, it's almost like a consultant service for these companies saying, hey, actually, this would be a better material choice for you. It's more recyclable. You can fit more of whatever it is in your containers and reduce your waste. Right now, there's no incentive for them to really do that. And I think there's a lot of companies that want to do the right thing, and this will give them the tools that they need to do that.
And this is based on, if I read this correctly, let me just make sure I did. Sorry, you're getting a close up on my eyebrows.
Oh, you're fine. Getting a close up on my dark circles.
I feel like they're earned when you have kids.
Yes.
And so there are certain types of companies based on their output of product of packaging that end up being exempt, right? If they produce less than a ton of certain types of materials, can you explain it to me?
Yes. So this policy will exempt small businesses. So businesses that make under $2 million gross revenue or produce less than 1 ton of packaging won't have to pay anything at all. There's also, actually for the first 3 years of the program, it's $5 million gross revenue and under won't have to pay. So it'll really just help with the rollout of the program. That's actually a higher threshold than a lot of the other programs that we're seeing around the world. But again, like I said, the producers who are paying, would like to see everybody participate if we're going to do it this way. But there are other protections in there too. There's a broader exemption for local food producers who make perishable food. There were a lot of lawmakers that didn't think that it was fair to even charge a tiny amount to Maine small farmers, and we agreed that that was a good idea, because the target here really is the large corporations. When you see in other jurisdictions, the majority of the costs are paid for by just a handful of companies, and then the rest just pay a small flat fee to participate in the program and pull their weight too.
Gotcha. Okay, gotcha. For people who don't know, what would be some of those big organizations, those big corporations that are sending tons and tons of products in packaging to Maine that you think will be participating in this type of program, like the Amazons, the Walmarts?
Right. Yes, I always say when you look at a package that you have, go and look at who's the brand owner. You'll find that there's just a few big ones you might see around your house. Yes, definitely Amazon, Walmart, Procter and Gamble, Kraft, Kimberly-Clark, Unilever, big companies like that is going to target the most. It's really the brand owners. It's the company that decides to put the thing in the package. It's not the company that creates the package, if that makes sense, or manufactures it. So let's say it's not the paper box, it's not the cardboard box company, it's Amazon who decides to buy that box and put the logo on it and send it into our towns.
Or the plastic pouch.
Or the plastic pouch.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, how detrimental are the types of packaging we're getting, on a regular basis these days to our environment?
Right. I mean, that's we're moving backwards with our recycling rate, and our waste disposal is increasing. And a lot of that has to do with the packaging choices that are being made by these companies. There is little regard to what happens with it after it leaves their doors and gets here to ours. And a lot of this packaging isn't recyclable. There's no market for it. There's no bin for somebody to put it in. It's confusing because there's a recycling symbol on it that doesn't mean anything.
Got it. Yeah, I mean, that's a pain. Okay, so I will unfortunately admit I'm probably recycling things that can't really
right. And it's not, we're changing the narrative, because a lot of these companies like to push it onto consumers and say, this is your fault. And, this is saying, no, it's not your fault. Actually, we need to make it a lot easier for people to do the right thing. Like, people in Maine want to recycle, they want to reduce their waste, they want to do the right thing. And this type of law is going to make it a lot easier for them to do that.
Well, I think you've answered most of my questions. Is there something I didn't ask you that you think is important that we cover?
Let's see. Well, we talked about I really just do think this is we're the first domino to fall in the United States. There were 10 states looking at this policy this year. And like I said, Oregon is expected to go next. I think we're going to see it. I'm just proud that Maine is a leader. We're really embracing our Dare to Go motto here. It's a big deal. It's right up there with, the bottle bill and other big recycling programs that Mainers rely on all the time. So.
Did you hear about Allagash Brewing Company's recycling co-op?
Yeah, we talked about quite a bit. Mm-hmm.
They had put out a blog post about the EPR program, saying like, look, we spent money to work with people who could recycle our hard to recycle materials, and so people like me who bring my little plastic pack text that.
Oh, I've got a huge stack of them out in my garage.
Yeah, exactly. I bring them to Allagash because I get a little punch on my virtual punch card, and someday it'll pay off for me. But they were kind of saying, at first they were kind of not sure how to feel about something like this because they use all these types of packaging products, but also they're B Corp. So I don't know if that was something that like entered into at all. I was
so impressed by the amount of time that they took to talk to us about how this was actually going to work and what it was going to mean for them. And they want to do the right thing. and with this kind of system in place, companies like Allagash will get credit for their good work when they start taking these materials back and helping other brewers reduce their waste and take, say, the pack tax back. They're going to get the credit for that they otherwise wouldn't have gotten without this system in place. So no, I think Allagash, Maine Beer Company, there's other Maine businesses who have really been out front in support just because they know it's the right thing to do for their communities. So yeah.
Gotcha.
Right, yeah, definitely talk to them, give them all the
I know
attention.
I had done that. I had done that story when they started the recycling co-op, and so, I just thought it was interesting, an interesting tie-in, because they're trying to do what the EPR law is doing, right? Like taking all those materials that
Yeah.
we're like, oh my gosh, what do we do with these, right? Like the airbags,
Mhm.
the that come to pad your materials,
Yeah.
your packaging, whatever. It's like, okay, what am I supposed to do with them? So I just bring them to them. But I mean, they were trying to basically get at this EPR by saying, look, if you can't recycle them in your single sort, we'll send them through our corporate program, and we'll just,
Yes.
I don't know what they were doing in terms of shelving costs,
Yeah.
taking on costs for that though.
Mhm. No, that's absolutely right. Yeah, and that's what this whole system works that way. Any materials that are taken back by the producers and not left to municipalities, they don't have to pay for that. It's only the stuff that is getting sold into Maine's homes, essentially.